Lindsey Roberts, we have our first non-English speaking film.
Isn't that right? I love it. And a good one at that.
An excellent one. One that's probably known best for its 37-minute one-take portion, but it is so much more than that.
It is. Pum.
Pum! You want to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
Welcome to another episode, Pum, of Die Laughing. Hello, my friend.
Hello, Bart.
How has your time been since our last episode?
I mean, right now I'm pretty busy at work. I think I say that every time, but it's very true. So the company that I work for is getting ready to separate from its parent company. So that separation happens soon. And so that keeps me really, really busy during the day. But I've got a great team. But I've been good. Jackson's good. You know, we're rocking and rolling post-graduation.
So you have 3 months of life as you know it, and then after that, it's going to be a whole new life for Lindsey Roberts and a whole new set of priorities from the last 19 years of your life.
Yeah, he'll be 19 by then. Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know what to do with myself. I'm either going to be an official cat lady or I'm going to become a workaholic, or I've got to figure something out. I need hobbies. Can we continue this podcast, please?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So this movie that we're doing today, by the way, my week's been going well. Thank you.
Bart, Shannon, you need to give me a second to ask. Bart, how has your week been?
This movie, yeah, but things are good. Things are good.
Good.
There's a lot I like about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
As I said in the cold open, this is our first foreign language film that we've discussed. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. And a darn fine one. Quite a ride.
Quite a ride. And we gave our guest 3 options as always, and we gave him, by sheer accident, 2 of the 3 were foreign language films, I just realized. So yeah, I guess we're branching out around the world.
Yeah.
We're getting our sea legs.
That's right. And this one's quite worthy.
Quite worthy. How about, let's go ahead and tell the people what movie we're discussing today, and then we can kind of move forward, because I'm keep biting my tongue in the figurative sense.
Yeah, so this week we are watching One Cut of the Dead from 2017.
Shin'ichirō Ueda directed this film. I saw this film a few years ago on Shudder, and I didn't know anything about it, and I watched the first 37 minutes, the credits rolled, and I turned it off. So for years, I only saw the first 37 minutes.
You're like, that's the shortest movie I've ever seen in my life. You know, it's funny because when you turn it on, it says, you know, when you're streaming it now, it says it's an hour and a half long film. And so when the first 37 minutes was over, I was like, is the rest of it like a documentary about the making of this 37-minute? I thought maybe that's what it was.
Well, you're smarter than me, because I thought that it was an error on the Shudder app, and somehow it had accidentally called it an hour and 36.
When it was just 37. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, that's odd. Shows you my amount of patience. As soon as the credits rolled, and scene, turn off. Yeah.
You're like, that's cool, fascinating, moving on.
Yep. Time to eat some more queso. And that was that. So this was the first time I'd seen the thing all the way through, and I have so many things to say because this movie has so many layers to discuss, and then it becomes a just total mind trip at a certain point of how creative they are. And like you said, is this a documentary about the making of it? It's so much more than that and just goes beyond it. But fascinating movie, Japanese film.
I have no idea how they made this movie. I'm just going to say it. I have no clue.
From what I read online, and I tried multiple sources to see if someone could disprove it, if they were creative cuts in the 37 minutes. And from everything that I gathered, there were not. It was They did 6 takes, and this was take number 6 for the first 37 minutes. So very impressive. In fact, I thought when the camera falls at some point, I thought, oh, okay, so they clear the frame, and then that's where a cut point is because nothing's in the frame and it's a static shot. But according to what I read online, no, that's it is 37 minutes continuous, and that explains a lot of the odd things that happen.
Yeah, you figure
in that 37 minutes.
Yeah, you find some of that stuff out later.
You know, you and I, Lindsey, have never said spoiler alert because we just assume these movies that we usually do they've been around for a while. And I recommend people watch a movie that any podcast is about. But this one, I cannot emphasize enough that you should watch this movie first before we jump into this thing, because there are so many delights in this movie that are such a pleasant surprise that you'd be doing yourself a disservice to not have that enjoyment.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. If you've not seen this movie, stop, pause this, go watch it, and then come pick this back up, because I want you to get the experience of watching what the intent of this film is before we kind of dive in and reveal its secrets.
If you get a chance, go watch this movie.
It's not long.
And then come back and listen to this podcast. It's not long.
Hour and a half.
It's not 37 minutes, but it's not long. Yeah.
That's correct. Well, shall we bring on our amazing guest?
Yeah, because I want to talk about this.
Look, I'm excited to jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's bring on our guest.
I'm very excited about our guest today. It's somebody I've known for quite a long time. Filmmaker, film writer, sound engineer extraordinaire. Known him since about 2010, so a little while now. But let's welcome to the podcast, and I definitely want to get into a lot of the projects he's been working on lately, but let's welcome to the podcast, Mr. Noah Glenn.
Hey, Noah Glenn.
Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad you're finally welcoming me in, because just your intro already starting to talk about the film, I'm holding back from trying to jump in already. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait to dive in here. But yeah, super excited to have you on. Like I say, I've known Noah for a long time. We actually met my last go-round playing Peter Pan at Playhouse on the Square. You were the sound designer.
Wait, you played Peter Pan?
Oh, Bart, Shannon. Yeah, I sure did. The first time I played Pan was like in 97 or 98. And then the 2010 year was my last go round. But yeah, so 2010 came back to do it. Noah Glenn was our sound designer. Fast forward with my new role, I interviewed this amazing lady for my creative team, and she was just awesome. Just could not wait to get her on board. She comes on board and she's like, so you know my husband, you guys work together at doing Peter Pan at Playhouse on the Square. Her name is Lindsey Glenn. She's amazing. And she's like, my husband's Noah. And I was like, come on. You very rarely kind of overlap theater, film, and business worlds. So it was definitely awesome to get back in touch with you, Noah. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, and my wife had been talking about her new boss and saying your name, and I made no connection to the fact that I knew who you were until finally she was like, oh, I found out that my boss does some acting, and she's been in, and I was like, wait, what's her name? Lindsey Roberts? Oh, that Lindsey Rob, that's your boss? Like, because for me, you'll always just be the boy who wouldn't grow up, Peter Pan.
That's right.
And I know her as the woman who just won't shut up. Hey-o!
It's true. He's like, please stop yelling on the podcast. I get excited.
But anyway, Noah, so I know you're involved with a film festival in Memphis. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for the past year, I've been running a new nonprofit called Like You Film Club that supports the emotional growth and mental wellness of kids through film. We do an annual children's film festival, the Like You Children's Film Festival, and I feel like a lot of people ask me, like, what's a children's film festival? And like have some trouble wrapping their head around it. In a lot of ways, it's really just like any film festival. We've got blocks of shorts, we've got features, we've got workshops. We actually have we call it Give Me the Creeps. It's kind of like a kid's, it's hard to call it horror, but just that, like if you like Coraline or those types of, like, there's a little creepiness to a movie. Our festival is films for kids and families, not primarily made by kids. We do have a kid-made block and a teen-made block. This was really meant to be like, hey, while they're still young, just help them fall in love with filmmaking. We should probably put in, if anyone's followed me from Like You Film Club over to this podcast with their kids, like, no, this is not for your kids to listen to. This is not.
Welcome to the show. We're absolutely glad you're here with us. And what is your history with this movie? Had you seen this movie previously?
No, my history is you sent me a list of films to pick for the podcast, and I hadn't seen any of them. And so I, watched some trailers, read a little bit about them, and this one I loved the kind of the nesting of, you all were talking about not knowing going in what to expect. I had a little of what to expect because I watched a trailer and I couldn't tell what was going on, and so I read about it and I got that there was going to be the different parts of the film. Even knowing that, I still was, I don't know, everything that should have paid off did. In a way. It didn't diminish it for me to not be surprised by some of the things.
Yeah, it's like a play in 3 acts.
My perspective, since I watched the first 37 minutes and then turned it off thinking that was it for several years, was different because I saw it that way, turned it off. Then it started showing up on people's lists over the last few years. And I thought, oh, I must have seen the original short film of it. That was what I thought. I thought I saw the 37-minute short film of this, and now they've made it into a feature. That's what I had assumed out of all of it. And you know what? I was just wrong across the board.
Did you discover you were wrong when you suggested the film? When did you discover this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. I love that.
I threw in what I thought was a 37-minute
one take.
Yeah, and I thought that's what we're going to be watching. As always, going to plug Movie Madness. I was going to go rent the movie from the video store, and then I kept seeing it 1 hour and 36 minutes. And then I saw 1 hour and 36 minutes on Shudder. It was on Shudder, and so I pulled it up. I was like, oh my God. This is a whole movie. There's a whole nother movie.
There's other stuff.
I was watching with my wife, and 25 minutes in, she was like, is this a full movie? Just like based on the number of people who had died and how many were left, she's like, is this a full feature? I was like, yeah, it is. And then like a few minutes later, she was like, I don't really see how it's going to be much longer. Like, what's
right? So she and I are of the same ilk then, because I'm sitting there watching this going, we're sure coming to a resolution pretty fast, and we sure got a lot of film left. So I was really confused. And then the credits rolled, and I was like, so just like we were saying before, I thought maybe this second section is like them on a stage, like talking about how they made this 37-minute one-take film. I mean, like I didn't know what to expect after the credits.
When the credits rolled this time, not the first time I saw it, but this time I thought, oh, so they've added on to that short film I saw. So that's what I thought was going to happen. It's like they found a way to stretch this thing out, like all of us wish we could about short films we'd made in the past. It's like, I'd love to turn that into a feature some way and recycle it anew.
And the fact that it just kept going, it's what adds to the movie's brilliance, because first of all, 6 takes, that's it. I'm sitting here thinking when I get done watching this movie, I'm going to start this research and it's going to be like, it took us 450 takes to get this 37 minutes. You know what I mean? And knowing that they probably couldn't afford to do very many, but 6, that's bananas.
That is impressive. I thought, so in the film, they say that this was the 42nd take in the film within the film. It's take 42, I think. So I was really surprised it was only 6. I once did a one-take film that was only 10 or 12 minutes, and it took us 12 takes. And it was so much. It was like one room. It wasn't even one of these like where fancy you're impressed by, oh, they did that in one take. We obviously did it in one. It was like very simple to do in one take, and it took us 12 takes.
Noah, you mentioned it. It's a film within a film, but then it's a film within a film within a film at one point.
It is. It's so cool.
Or it's a film within a film behind the scenes within that film. And it's just very ingenious. And I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. It reminded me a lot of Man Bites Dog, a movie from the early 90s about this film crew that's following around a serial killer. And there's a scene in the movie where I think it's probably the most famous scene in the movie where they run into another film crew shooting another documentary on another serial killer, and then the two serial killers have to battle it out. But yeah, just so well done, so many layers. Let's watch the trailer, and then we can kind of watch that and discuss the trailer, and then we can jump right into it if everybody is down with that.
I'm so ready.
Here's the trailer for 2017's One Cut of the Dead.
カット割りなしのワンカット。最初から最後まで一度もカメラを止めません。
そんな無茶な企画あるわけないでしょ。
I guess I should say that was the Shudder trailer. But had I watched that trailer before I watched the movie originally, I would have known that there was more than the first 37 minutes.
Well, they definitely had to be clever in what they could tell you in the trailer, which is why the trailer is also brilliant, which is why when Noah and I watched the trailer, we were like, I don't know what's happening. And I still don't understand what this movie is about. Like, yes, this one, I bet Noah, you bet you and I saw the same one. I had not seen this one either, but they have to be really clever in what information they give you.
Yeah, I get how they don't want to give away the full everything within the trailer, but it's like I watched two versions of the trailer and I was like, okay, I get that they're making a movie, a zombie movie, and then the director turns some other people into zombies and it becomes a real... I was like, but it seems like there's something else more than that that's happening that they're not saying. And so I had to go Google and kind of look up the plot. But even reading it, like a quick synopsis of it's kind of three different parts and here's what's happening. It just made it even more confusing. And that's why I was like, I've just got to watch it.
So the movie opens on a blood-soaked zombie walking towards a panicked woman who's holding a hatchet. And she says, Ken, please stop. Ken freezes. She lets her guard down and reaches out to touch his hand, only to see him return to his zombie ways and continues towards her. She's trapped in a corner, and all we've seen right now is sort of a very rusty, not rustic, rusty warehouse of some type underneath this set of stairs. And she says, Ken, it's me, but Ken ain't listening. And he leans in, takes a bite out of her neck, and she softly says, I love you. And then we hear the director yell, cut, and the camera pans around the room, and now it reveals a movie crew, a very small crew. And we find out that was the 42nd take that they had done so far of the scene. And the director kneels down to the actress and yells at her for her weak performance and says, do you know why your performance looks fake? Because your life itself is utter fake.
Wow. So harsh.
What a dick.
Right. Totally. I'm like, come on. Cut her some slack, man. She's doing all right. I was really mad at him.
So right off the bat, a very confident, arrogant director who's demanding what he wants from the zombie flick and from the performances. He knows what he wants out of her performance. So he continues to scream at her, and the actor playing the zombie, the male zombie, pulls him away from her, saying he's over the line. but the director slaps that actor and begins yelling at him. And then they're both broken up by the makeup artist now, who suggests that they all take a break. So the director stomps off in a huff, stomps up these stairs, and now we can see that they're in this what do they say? It's an abandoned water treatment plant, I believe is what they say later. Great location. The whole film was shot at this location, and really spooky old factory. The crew takes a break, and the actress and the zombie actor, who we don't know names of yet, except for the actor, the character's name was Ken. That's another thing we're going to be doing a lot. Character, actor, character. But the character's name was Ken. The actor's names, the one playing the zombie is Ko, and the actress's name is Chinatsu. So that's where we're starting from now, and I will definitely deviate and get confused moving forward. Ko says that the director is insane, but Chinatsu says, no, I'm just a lousy actor. She tells him to attack her harder next time that they do the scene, and he asks her if he can come tonight, so we see that they're a couple. These two actors join now the makeup artist upstairs, and I think he's the AD. The AD has a bucket of fake blood and says that the director wants the bucket of blood on the roof, and now tells the actors that there's an urban legend that says that the shooting location that they're using was used for human experimentation by the Japanese army, where they tried to bring back the dead. Ko, the actor playing the zombie, asks the makeup artist if she has any hobbies. Very odd scene. And she says that she's learning self-defense, and he asks her to show him some. So she shows him a couple of moves where she'll show how to break free of a restraint with the words 3, 2, 1, pum! Adorable scene, but the whole time you're like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
The pacing is awkward. The content, it's like, how does this fit into what we've seen so far?
And Chinatsu even says, what a random question.
And then she starts clapping. Great job.
Yeah.
A lot of long pauses.
This is not even the longest either of the weird scenes. So the boom operator walks by, camera follows him outside and lands on the AD smoking a cigarette. And the boom operator is that person which, in the section of the film after the 37-minute zombie movie, he's got a lot of problems going on in his life. And I did wonder during the 37-minute film, why does he keep walking through frame? He walked through frame a couple of times with no purpose, just like past. God, it's so hard to not talk about the next part without.
Yeah, that's why I feel like we just got to get through the first 37 minutes and then.
So yeah, we got to remember, like, this first 37 minutes is a zombie movie. So the boom operator walks by, camera follows him, lands on the AD who's smoking a cigarette. Behind him, the director of photography, who is now a zombie, and raises up into frame, like right behind him, which very well done shot.
Yeah.
It's like you see he's the whole frame is crowded by the AD. He raises up behind him. The AD is startled by him and says, they painted you too. But the zombie quickly spits fluid into his face and takes a bite out of him.
Oh my God.
So this has sort of become a real zombie attack and a movie about zombies within the first, 5 minutes, something like that. So now there is an actual zombie attack happening in this remote location with an ominous background where they're shooting a zombie movie. So that's kind of where we are in the inception portion of this movie at the moment.
I think if that was all the movie was, that's a spoiler, but that doesn't even feel like a spoiler to know that there's a real zombie attack within they're filming a zombie movie. With some films, that would be spoiler kind of information. With this film, it's like, that's just the setup. That's just barely anything.
Yeah, we're not giving anything away at this point. This is the very beginning of the 37-minute zombie movie.
And keeping in mind that you're watching it knowing that this is a one take. It's kind of amazing that they've gotten this far. So some of those things, like you're saying, Bart, with people walking in front of the camera or doing certain things, you're like, it doesn't really detract because you're sitting there thinking, even if there was something that went wrong, they're just keeping going, And so you're watching it as a film, but also fascinated with the fact that they haven't cut yet. So...
Yeah, and if you're shooting a 37-minute take, you're not yelling cut unless someone does something terrible. So that kind of stuff, it happens, especially with the boom operator. He walks through a few different times. So the camera leaves them, and so we're at the mercy of this camera. Sometimes it just, as we're all taught when we're young, a camera move has to be motivated by something. And sometimes it's done brilliantly, and sometimes it's just done out of necessity. And so the camera leaves them and goes back into the warehouse where the makeup artist and the actors have been watching all of this from inside the doorway. And then they recoil as a severed arm is tossed at them.
I laughed out loud. Did anybody else laugh out loud?
I laughed several times, yeah.
Yeah, that made me laugh out loud. Like I cackled. I don't know.
Their characters at the moment are in between takes on a break from shooting a zombie movie. So the arm gets tossed in, and the makeup artist asks if they've seen this prop before. And then the armless AD stumbles into the room and collapses on the floor and dies. And the makeup artist and the actors are confused. They think it's a joke until the makeup artist realizes that the AD is actually dead. And the actor Co is holding him and checks his pulse and realizes he's holding a dead body. And this happens just as the crew member who is actually a zombie, the DP, lumbers inside the door and attacks them. They push him out of the door, and the three of them have a bit of a meltdown just as the AD returns to life as now a member of the undead. The one-armed AD is now a zombie, and he's chasing them around. And there's a funny bit where Co takes his arm and he's chasing him, and it's almost like he's trying to retrieve his arm. So he runs through the factory with the arm, the zombie chases him, and he opens the door and throws the arm out the door, and then the AD like follows to get his arm back.
To get his arm back.
So he locks him outside of the door. A lot of just cute little bits like this throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So then he locks the door, and the three of them turn around to see that the director has been shooting all of this with a camera of his own the entire time. And he says, "This is true filmmaking." So he knows there's a real zombie attack. He's going to take advantage of it and use it in this zombie movie. And the camera's rolling, and he'll be damned if a few people dying on his set makes a difference.
And you are already so annoyed by him.
Yeah, because he's such a dick.
He's such a dick, and you're so annoyed by him. You're like, okay, all right, cut it out. It's funny, especially knowing what we'll find out later. But
And right away, the makeup artist says, "You didn't, did you?" And the director tells her, that was a great guess. So they mentioned the bucket of blood being taken to the roof earlier and the ominous history. So she's already put two and two together. And she says, but it's just an urban legend. The sound guy is now back in there with them. And then he's trying to sneak out of the door as the director's shooting. And then he eventually does run outside. And the director points at our camera, the only camera that we're watching this movie through, and says, "Don't stop rolling, keep shooting." And so that was the first time I went, oh, okay, so this is a found footage movie.
Yeah, that was definitely a turn that, like, up to that point, okay, we already knew we had seen a cameraman on screen because they're filming a movie, but the camera we've been watching through has never been the fourth wall hasn't been broken. And at that moment, he looks into the camera and he breaks the fourth wall. And I was like, well, that doesn't feel like that fits with the movie that we've been watching so far.
My first thought was, it is found footage. So that camera person who's been following them without drawing any attention from any character so far has been in on it, you know? And so he says, keep rolling. So it opens up so many questions immediately, like, oh, okay, so why aren't any of them addressing this camera guy? It's like, do they just think he's doing behind the scenes footage and they've been told to not pay attention to them? So it was that first moment of, okay, what the fuck's going on here?
yeah,
And it affects everything I see later in this 37-minute opening, because then you assume that you are watching someone who's in on what's happening with the director.
and the Japanese title Kamera o Tomeru na basically means don't stop the camera.
And we're doing a lot of this, like, you know, we got to explain this plot of the first 37 minutes before we get to the rest. But this is, you know, like everything we're saying about this right now, I think there is a completely different explanation about him looking at that camera in that moment. And I don't think it was intended to be this found footage kind of thing.
No.
But I don't think there's any way for us to know what it is. But it definitely feels like that was different. It suddenly changed. Why did he look at the camera? now I need to figure out what caused that shift.
And I never stopped thinking about who was behind that camera for the rest of this 37-minute zombie opening that we had. Because there's a scene like coming up where the camera person is trapped in this long underground hallway, but the zombies aren't attacking the camera person. So I'm like, oh, wait a second. So yeah, it really was hard to let go of, but everything gets explained later. So yeah, so he yells that at the camera, and then he runs outside to find the sound guy being eaten, and the actor, still in zombie makeup, inside, locks the door behind the director. Now the makeup artist tells the young actors to revive the thing, you chant a spell of blood. That's what the urban legend has said. So she grabs the hatchet and says no one is coming to rescue them. And here there's a great trick. As the director starts knocking on the door that he's been locked out of, the camera starts going downstairs. And so as they're going across this long expanse from right to left behind this railing to go to the door, the camera shoots them as he's going downstairs. And then as they get to the door, comes up the other set of stairs to meet them.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Great way to take that space and make it more interesting instead of just panning across. And it builds the tension too, because as he's coming up the stairs, he's shooting through the railing as everything's happening, the tension at the door. So camera gets back upstairs. The camera meets now and the two actors at the door, where they open the door to let the director in, and he's holding the zombified body of the sound guy. And he yells, "Action!" and shoves the zombie inside with them. The zombie attacks them as the director excitedly films them with his camera, and now decapitates the zombie of the sound guy, and then starts stomping his headless body. As the director films the real panic of the young actress's face, the zombie actor hits the director in the back of the head, knocking him out. There's a lot of knockouts in this with objects that I was like never really see. Like, did he pick something up or did he just punch him in the back of the head? I think he just punches him in the back of the head.
Yeah, and you're also confused because the director has a camera, he's shooting them, they're talking, he's screaming the whole time, and you're like, so are we doing this without sound? I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many questions that you have, like, watching it. And meanwhile, the makeup artist is just screaming, fuck, 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 and over and over and over again while she's killing the zombie. And the director's screaming and filming. And you're like, what is going on? I love it. But what is happening? I mean, it's like, you just got to hang on for the ride.
Yeah. You definitely do. So the makeup artist now says, run to the car. I'm going to smash them all. So the three of them leave the building, run outside to the car. We're followed by our camera, which as we know now, it's obviously this camera is here for our purpose. And as they're running, the camera person wipes the blood from the lens that was splattered on it by the zombie.
That was my favorite. That was the biggest laugh during this initial sequence for me, was that, and like now that we've already brought the camera operator in as a character, and then when that blood got on the lens, and I was like, how are they going to film? How much is left? How are they going to keep shooting through this blood? And when that hand came around and wiped it off, I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's good.
Since it was so clean, my assumption is that they just had a filter on top of it, a clear filter, and then pulled it off during the wipe, because it was so clean after that. You wouldn't want to take the chance of shooting the rest of the 30 minutes of the 37 minutes with a smear on it.
There was like a moment where after they'd cleaned it off where it seemed like you could still see a little bit of something, but then a few seconds later, there's not. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Wonder if that was in post.
The whole thing could have been in post, all the blood and everything.
I thought I read somewhere that was like really a thing that happened and he just had to wipe it off.
I hope so. They dealt with it, they fixed it, and got their 37-minute take in the can. So yeah, so they get to the car and only discover, of course, that the keys are not there. And I think they said the keys are in the AD's bag, which is now our one-armed zombie. And he returns, he's beating on the window, and the director shows up again with his camera and yells, "Action!" Which I think is funny because There's really no need to yell action. The action is happening. He could just keep rolling. But every time he pops back up again, he yells action. Chinatsu fights with the one-armed zombie, but manages to grab his bag off his shoulder, which now says had the keys in it. The one-armed zombie chases our actress into this long underground hallway, this concrete hallway. And then great shot of them running down this hallway. And then there's a set of stairs at the other end of the hallway. She starts running up those stairs, but she's met at that doorway by the DP. Yeah, so she's met by the DP who's doing this very Shaolin martial arts type move with his hands the entire time.
I will say it was at this moment, like when they get out of the car and the camera this is the part where the camera goes on its side and there's a struggle on the ground, right? And then all of a sudden they get up and start running and you see the camera zooming in and out on this zombie as it's chasing. And at this moment, I almost paused it because I wanted to take a second to try to remember the scenes that I had just watched because I was like, they've never done that before. That's new. They haven't done that yet. I wonder why they haven't done that yet. Or have they done that yet? Like I started second guessing myself. Like I was like, maybe they've done that on these zombies, but I don't think so. I was confused watching it the first time because I thought that is a new technique. And I wonder why they just decided to do that.
It did stand out. I was searching for, Bart, you said something earlier about, camera motivation and there should be, I'm like, okay, why? What was the motivation? Why are they all of a sudden adding this? I was finding a reason for it. I was like, I don't know, something about the chase and it's getting closer to it. Like there's a reason they started doing this here. But
it is obvious. I mean, and I'm not a filmmaker, I'm just a lowly actor. I even noticed it. Either way, there is a pointed difference in point of view that there is a shift right here. And it's noticeable in this first 37 minutes. And you find out later why.
So they're in that long hallway. She's trapped between the two zombies. And then Ko shows up, knocks the one-armed AD zombie to the ground. So she and Chinatsu run back through the tunnel all the way back the other way. And she says she's twisted her ankle. So he kind of helps her limp back up the stairs. Still chased by the one-armed zombie. Chinatsu and our camera person run back to the building. Well, I guess Ko, Chinatsu, and our camera person. They get back to the building, now lets them inside. And again, the zombies never attack the cameras. I couldn't let it go. It's like, why don't they go after the camera? He's right there. It's like easy pickings. Back inside the main location of the water treatment plant, Chinatsu realizes that she's been bitten on the ankle, and it wasn't a twist. What a twist! Now notices her try to hide it and asks if she's been bitten. She said it just could be a cut, and now picks up the hatchet and says just in case, and tries to kill Chinatsu. Ko fights with her as Chinatsu runs away. And the camera leaves them and follows her as she runs outside, where she's met by Shaolin zombie again, who keeps using the way of the fist as his attacks.
God, yes, it's bananas.
It was odd in all incarnations of this movie.
Yeah.
Now returns. She runs outside. She kicks both of the zombies in the stomach and knocks them down. As she's more hell-bent on killing Chinatsu than killing either one of the zombies. She'd rather kill the living person who's going to turn into the zombie than either one of the actual zombies.
And I'd say the zombies here actually seem more interested in her for some unexplained yet reason than in chasing Chinatsu.
Yes.
Very, very clever.
Director shows up again. He yells action again. And now knees him in the groin and continues chasing Chinatsu to a rooftop where she's trapped until Ko shows up, fights with Now, and the camera stays on Chinatsu for a very, very, very long time as she screams. And my first thought when I watched the 37 minutes, they're screaming so they can put effects on somebody. They put practicals on somebody. We're killing time to then do a camera pan to reveal because it's one take, people. It's one take.
Yeah.
So it goes on ridiculously long. She even kind of loses interest a couple of times
she's like,
before she picks it back up again.
It is funny, this whole sequence, though. The makeup artist now, like, when she realizes Chinatsu has been bit and wants to kill her, her face and her affectation and her acting is really scary. She's very deadpan and she's just very matter of fact. Her face doesn't really move, but she's talking and she's like, I guess we're going to have to do this for a reason. Why did she turn into this all of a sudden?
And I didn't notice the first time watching on this long take of Chinatsu screaming. It's going on forever. I was so focused on the scream, that's all I really heard. I went back right before we started recording to kind of like watch a few moments again. We're still in this, original 37-minute movie with her screaming. You can hear in the background, "Bum,
Yes.
bum," off camera.
Yes. And you're like,
I didn't notice it the first
Yes.
time,
I
but
didn't
yeah,
either.
you can't.
but it's there.
You can't.
We get why much later, but it's there from the
It
beginning.
is. It
That's
is
great.
great.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, I was going to ask, in fact, did you guys go back and watch it a second or a third time before we recorded?
No, I just watched it last night. If I'd have watched it a few days ago, I think I probably would have.
Same. I watched last night and I was like, oh, I wish I had given myself time to watch again. I planned to rewatch just the first 37 minutes to this morning. Kind of ended up just like skimming through. I think I will watch it again. I wouldn't have thought coming in that this was going to be something I'd ever watch again, but I think I might rewatch it tonight.
And I think it is a great party movie. And I think this is one of those movies that you want to watch a second time and a third time. But I watched it Thursday night and was blown away. And so Friday night, I watched the first 37 minutes again. I just wanted to get a good couple of viewings in because there's so much going on.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it again soon. She screams and screams and screams and screams from the rooftop until finally the camera pans over and we see that Ko has smashed now in the head with a hatchet. And so that we're taking this time to rig this hatchet to her head in real film life, taking time to cover her in blood and put a hatchet in her head. That was my assumption as I was watching her scream. And so it was like, okay, there it is. Yeah. So they took a little while to rig that. Now Ko has killed her. He's covered in real blood now, and he runs over to console Chinatsu, but she pushes him away for his own protection and then runs back downstairs, and the camera follows her. She runs down the stairs to the ground where she sees the still bodies of our previous two zombies laying there. I guess now killed them with her kicks, or are they just sleeping? I think one of them is explained later, but one of them is not. Chinatsu runs and hides in a storage shed and realized that she was not bitten and that it was not even blood. It was just something stuck to her ankle. Did you know what it was that was stuck to her? I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I assumed it was some sort of, when they were making the film, that it was something that makeup stuck on her.
I thought maybe like it was some of the fake blood from the film that they were making had gotten on her. It's hard. It's like, am I trying to make the logic of which film am I trying to use the logic from to determine what that was?
Yeah.
But I thought there's all the fake blood from things that are different zombie attacks that have happened. Some of it got onto her leg and dried. I don't know.
I guess we are to assume, since she's already covered in fake blood from the movie, I guess we're to assume that she did tweak her ankle. She saw the fake blood and thought, oh, I've been bitten, because it feels like that's from the point. So I guess that's what we're supposed to assume. Still a bit of a stretch, but hey, it's a zombie movie. What are you going to do?
I do want to go back and rewatch it again and see when it gets there.
Yeah, I think we probably won't see it until she notices it. I think that'll be the first time that we see it. So she's crouching in the storage shed and two zombie legs walk in and just stand there. And we never see anything but the legs. So we don't know if the zombie has spotted her, but she covers her mouth, trying not to scream. The zombie legs are right in front of her, and then the zombie legs turn and walk away. And so she runs back outside and sees Ko on the rooftop. And so she goes back upstairs. It's this very house, upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, downstairs.
After luckily finding an axe on the way, just by chance,
I didn't notice this in the 37-minute. I didn't even see it in her hand. And so I just assumed when she got to the roof, she pulled it out of Now's head. That was another little pleasant surprise later. And a lot of running, a lot of shaky handheld as DPs fall down with the camera. You see in the real behind the scenes footage during the credits that happened a lot. A lot of the camera people running and falling down. And that's just part of being a 37-minute take. She goes back up the stairs to the roof where she finds Ko, and he turns around and she sees that he's now a real zombie, even though he's been in zombie makeup the whole time. But now the zombie makeup is better. And just like the opening shot of the movie, he lumbers towards her arms out, and then now pops up between them, almost like a very Evil Dead type thing, with the hatchet still in her head, and says, "What's that?" And Chinatsu screams, and then immediately just falls out of frame. No explanation. Maybe she just fainted, but she's just gone out of the frame. So Chinatsu pulls the hatchet from her head and holds it out towards Ko. So now it's exactly like the opening of the film. And the director shows up, camera in hand, tells her that she's nailing it, and he's finally getting the performance he wanted. He says, make it the last motherfucking take. She tells Ko to stop, and just like at the beginning of the movie, he freezes for a moment. She lowers the axe, reaches out for his hand, but then he starts coming towards her again. So when he starts coming towards her, just like at the beginning of the movie, she says, "I love you," and then she chops off his head. And the director yells at her that she's not following the script. She screams, raises the axe, and chases the director, who falls off one of the levels of the rooftop to the lower level.
And this is definitely that moment, Noah, where I'm sure Lindsey and I were both thinking the same thing. And we were like, this is all that's left. We got a lot to go here. This seems like a resolution real fast. What else have we got left to do?
Now you see my confusion several years ago when why I thought it was just the end of the movie, especially when the credits roll.
Right.
So he falls down this other level on this rooftop. She jumps down with him. So we don't see where he's laying. We just, from the shot, we see her standing up, and then she starts just going medieval on his ass with this hatchet, and blood just squirting all over her and just spraying her. She done gone blood simple.
Yeah, she's raising up, screaming and bearing down on him with that hatchet, and you just see her up and then gone. And then every time she lifts up, blood just squirts everywhere. And then she screams again and goes back down and comes up. Blood squirts. Like, it's just the coolest sequence. I think it's really cool.
Now drenched in blood, just covered in blood, hatchet still in hand, Chinatsu walks across the rooftop to where there's a giant pentagram drawn in blood. And she stands in the center of it and looks up to the sky. And the camera goes up another level, kind of shakily. It's not like I'm so drone conditioned now where I expect it to have a certain look, because my first thought was a 37-minute. Obviously, you're not going to have a crane or of any kind. So camera comes up another level, very well done, and it was almost like the stairwell shot earlier, where before you know it, it's about a floor higher, and she turns around, looks up at the sky. She's standing in that pentagram circle, and we hear someone say, "Okay, cut." Fade out. So that's our 37-minute one-take zombie movie.
The title of the movie comes on the screen, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, she turns around, you see one cut of the dead.
And then the credits roll.
And that's why 5 years ago I hit stop and went about my day, because that was the credits. And I thought, well, that was a very entertaining oneer. And I thought that was that.
And the only reason I didn't get up and turn it off is because I was so puzzled. I was just like, what did I just watch?
Some people that I read fucking hated this 37 minutes and this movie was salvaged by everything that happens after. I read half a dozen people say that. Some people said the opposite. Some people said, the one-take zombie movie was what I wanted to see. Everything else after it was cute, but was just fluff. And I'm kind of in the middle.
What say you, Noah?
Yeah, I am in the middle, I think. I enjoyed each of them in different ways. I'm a bigger fan of the rest of the movie. It's what made me, I would say I loved this film. I would have said, I liked that. at this point, 37 minutes in, there's a lot to appreciate about the challenge of the filmmaking and how they got this all in one take. And we could sit and have a conversation about that 37-minute film. It'd be a great talk, but I really loved what happens after this.
But nothing that happens after this works without the first 37 minutes.
Right. And I tried to think about, could it have been presented in a different, like, it wouldn't have worked if we knew from the beginning, if we had started with the second part and then led up and then seen the first 37 minutes with that context, it doesn't work as well.
Whether or not the first 37 minutes work for you before you know the twist, I think is the absolute key question for this film. But I think it's all brilliantly intentional. I mean, I can see how somebody might, bail before the movie really reveals itself for what it's really doing. But I think the first act being intentionally awkward is what kind of makes it work.
I, a couple of times, almost gave up in what comes next because it did at times feel like a Japanese sitcom. And especially with the canned music choices, some of them were just bad.
I wasn't a big fan of the music, yeah.
But if you make it to the end, there's so many payoffs that make this such a unique film and a very wholesome film as well, with kind of heartfelt.
Yeah.
But here we are. Here we are at the crossroads. So the very next shot after we see the credits and we fade to black, we fade into a city skyline, and the caption on screen reads 1 month ago. On this rooftop is the small film crew, and we see the director from the previous 37 minutes. We find his name is Higurashi. And now he's all smiles, and he's meek. And so there's this TV exec comes up to him and asks if he can have a chat with him. And so he meets with a couple of execs where we see he's not confident at all. In fact, he says his motto is fast, cheap, but average. So that's how he describes his work.
The funniest line.
With pride, he says it.
That's how I describe myself when I go on a date.
At least he's self-aware.
Yes, he is. So the execs tell him they want him to do a zombie film, and the plot is that while they're shooting a zombie film, they get attacked by real zombies, and it's going to be a oneer. And also, it's going to be broadcast live. And as Higurashi says, one kato. Such an absurd idea that he thinks they're joking, and he laughs, and they say, "Oh no, we're serious here. We want to do this." So then we get a very high glossy credit sequence. So now the second part of the movie starts with a credit sequence for all of our actors for this next part.
It feels more like an opening sequence.
Yes.
It's the opening sequence for the rest of the film, but we've already seen the end credits. So it's a weird.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of mind fuckery going on in this film.
Mm-hmm.
So we come out of that credit sequence to a self-defense training tape. Hey guys, what is he doing? This guy's teaching pum to break out of these holds. And we see that it's now practicing at home. And then she asks her husband, who is Higurashi, why they want him to direct this zombie film. And he says because everyone else had turned it down. She tells him she knows he didn't have the guts to say no. She is very dismissive of him. You can tell she has very little respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
Then their teenage daughter, Mao, comes in. She runs through the room and now asks Higurashi to spy on her today.
Is this where we need to talk about her T-shirt?
Her multiple T-shirts?
Should we save that for later? I'm obsessed with her multiple T-shirts. We go from Scarface to Taxi Driver to The Shining. But yeah, I mean, I think you're just like, oh, okay. They're actually married and they have like a daughter. Okay, so this is maybe like a movie. Maybe I'm about to watch a movie. Yeah, I mean, like you're still sort of confused. But at least some pieces start coming together somewhat. But then you're like, I wonder how they end up in the other movie.
That's what I enjoyed about this, because your boy, I dare you to not have an active brain as this is happening, because then you just start thinking, okay, how are we going to get to this point? I don't understand, because they weren't acting like they were a couple, and she had a lot of negative things to say. So you really just start trying to like, where are we going here?
Once you now get this premise of understanding, we're going to get the story of how that film we just watched was made, you start to, I can already piece together how some of this is coming together. But her character now being the wife and watching the Palm self-defense tape, that was one of the things that I was really thinking a lot, is like, how does that make it into the final film? Like, how does this Palm thing that she's watching that has nothing to do with the film that her husband has been talking about, how does that get worked in?
Your brain definitely, like you're saying, Bart, your brain just keeps rolling through it, trying to figure it out, trying to piece it all together while you're watching it.
And I did have to stop to rewind a few times, because I found myself like going the same thing, like, how would that end up in the movie they shot about the self-defense? And then you kind of come back and like, I've missed like a minute of dialogue. So I had to keep going back and like, okay, just watch. So we cut to a small film crew outside, and we see that Mao, their daughter, is trying to force a child to use real tears instead of a bottle of fake tears. And she calls the kid's mom, an old hag, gets fired from the film crew just as Higurashi shows up to spy on her and sees his daughter get fired, and talks to the director, and he's just saying, she just doesn't work well with others. And so back at home, Now and Higurashi are watching the commercial on television, watching the commercial that opened the sequence from the rooftop, where they also used fake tears as well. Is this movie sponsored by big tear companies?
Big tears.
So they're watching this on TV of this, I don't know, I guess it was a commercial of some kind. It kind of felt like a commercial. They didn't really say what it was. But then his daughter says, hey, can we turn this off? And Now says, of course we can. And I kind of focused in on him to see what his reaction was. Like, they won't even watch my work. But you could tell he was unfazed and used to it. So his daughter sits down on the couch and changes the channel. And she's watching this interview with her favorite actor, which I didn't recognize the actor in this interview without the zombie makeup on.
That was another one of the challenges of this, is seeing everybody in the costume and makeup of the first film. A lot of them, I had trouble recognizing them with different hair and makeup and wardrobe.
Yeah, I got very confused several times. So it's her favorite actor, and he's being interviewed, and he says his next film is a horror film, but he can't talk about it. And at the same time, we see Higurashi looking through the call list for the zombie movie that he's been hired to do. And he sees that his daughter's favorite actor is Ko from the zombie movie that we've already seen. I don't think I learned their names. The actors playing the actors playing the actors. I don't think I learned their names. So it's Ko from our original zombie film.
Yeah. We don't need to add any more confusion to this conversation.
No, we don't. For the audience or for me. So we cut to the table read for One Cut of the Dead, the movie which we just saw. Chinatsu and Ko are both there. The crew that we never really got to know other than them quickly turning into zombies are there. So like we see the DP that turned into the zombie. We see the AD that turned into the zombie. And we see that they are actors playing these characters. The sound guy is there as well. We see they're all pretty much prima donnas. The sound guy's demanding a certain type of water. Chinatsu is saying that she can't have fake vomit on her. And Ko keeps wanting to talk about arts, and then anyway, just a difficult cast of characters, which is opposite.
I hate actors.
Opposite of what the characters that we just witnessed in the 37-minute film. Everyone's flipped. So the actors that we saw are now kind of the pricks, and the prick director is kind of this meekish, sweet guy. Once my brain started understanding what was happening, then I started just going all in. Even though, like I said, the music was bad, some of the lighting and some of the scene direction was much like a sitcom. I didn't care. The woman playing the makeup artist in the movie that was now, as we saw it, is a different actress. She shows up to the table read with her baby, and her baby screams throughout the entire script read. And so they take a break. Tough scene to process, and also a little rough in its comedy. We see that the actor playing the DP is a very comical drunk. In fact, he's got a bottle of booze with him at the table read. And both of our leads, as I said, are assholes. But we quickly leave there, and back at home, Nao and Mao are sitting on the couch, and we find out that Nao used to be an actress. And as she says, she's running out of hobbies. And Mao encourages her mom to try acting again, but Mao says she gets too dedicated to it. I wonder if that'll come in later.
I don't know.
She tells Mao that her favorite actor, who plays Ko in the movie we've witnessed, is going to be in her father's zombie movie. So rehearsals begin. Chinatsu asks Higurashi if she can use crying drops in the first scene, and he says, well, can you not cry on your own? And she says that she would rather just use the drops. There's a scene where Higurashi is sitting on a park bench with the actor playing the DP, who was drunk at the table read, and he's saying he's not drinking because he lost his daughter because of his drinking, and he shows Higurashi some photos of his daughter, and he said, that's why I'm trying to not drink and stay sober. He starts crying, and Higurashi says, don't cry. And then we cut immediately to Nao in Higurashi's house, where he's in his bedroom looking at old photos of him and his daughter crying uncontrollably, and all the photos are her with a camera. You can tell he nurtured her to become the director that she wants to be. And so while he's in there crying, Nao comes in and says, can I ask a favor? And then we cut. So we cut to on location of the first day of One Cut of the Dead. So we're in production mode at this same spooky location where we just witnessed the 37-minute film. They're setting up the production offices and working on blocking, and we see that Nao and Mao have come to set. I assume that would be the favor she was asking.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly so Mao can just gawk at her crush, the actor playing Ko. Higurashi gets called to the production office to find out that the actors playing the director and the makeup artist have been in a car accident and they can't make it. I was very confused at this point. This is one of those, who are we talking about?
Yeah.
And so I had to watch it a couple of times. So Karuka and Soda were the actors playing the makeup artist and the director. And once I realized, like, oh, that's why they're okay. Somebody suggests canceling the whole thing. The exec says, no, we're not doing that. But we're canceling those actors. So Higurashi suggests he plays the director in the movie, and they put him in this shirt that we see from the 37-minute film. And so he's going to play the director. I am going to need a drink after this. So the director of the 37-minute zombie film that we witnessed is also playing the director in the film as an actor, out of necessity. So then someone says, well, who's going to play the makeup artist? And then Mao grabs her mom's arm and raises in the air and says, my mom is an actor and she knows all the lines. But Higurashi vetoes this and says to his daughter, you have no idea what mom was like. I suffered so much for it.
Yeah, I mean, they both look vehemently against this. They both are like, no, 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 no. It's like they both know what this means, but they're like, hey, we're 2 hours away from anywhere, and we've got to roll.
And what did they say? They roll in an hour or something? So time was of the essence.
Yeah, they did a good job of sort of explaining some of that.
If I haven't made it clear enough, they're all there and already about to roll. At least it appears to be their first day on set, and they are going to live stream this day, and now within an hour of the live stream. So we've got shots that we get them a little later. There's a room full of executives are going to watch the live stream. And we also have this makeshift little control room in the production office where they have this cute little mixing board, which is going to be their board for the stream.
A couple of Mac computers.
Yeah. So they're going to broadcast this thing live. So yeah, they are both against the idea of now playing the makeup artist. But the very next scene, there they are in full wardrobe. She will play the makeup artist. Higurashi will play the director. When we see them in costume, they're 5 minutes away from broadcasting. They're ready to roll. So the stream starts, and we see that Higurashi was acting all along as he played the director, not some manic trying to get real performance on tape, but he was just being the director and doing a really good job of it. We see the scene from the beginning of the movie where he's yelling at Shinatsu about the performance, but he starts improvising immediately and telling the actors exactly how he feels about them. So he's this meek, sheepish guy who finally has an opportunity to tell these two prima donna actors how he feels about them. And so that's why he told her she was fake and why Ko has been busting his hump since rehearsals. And so he gets to say all of this and throw them around. So he gets to be the person that he wishes he could be.
And it's at this moment that you realize that the bad acting, quote unquote, in the opening is actually good acting. So you're like, all right, I'm all in. It's a really kind of smart layer. There is a difference between their acting in this scene versus, as the 37 minutes go on. It's tough. It's like asking somebody who knows how to sing in a film, sing, but pretend that you can't sing.
And just to clarify, we are now live streaming the production of the film that we've already seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just for our audiences. So now we are witnessing it. The makeup's a little better. The costuming is a little different. The performance is a little different. So they're basically reenacting the scenes from the previous film that we've seen, but it is that film. Okay. I hope that is now clear to everyone. It can get a little muddy. Then we get some behind the scenes of what we've seen before. So the actor playing the DP has drank a whole bottle of sake and he passes out outside 1 minute before his cue. The actors playing Ko and Chinatsu and now are told to improvise the scene that they did earlier when they were sitting upstairs after the director's freak out. And that's why that awkward scene in One Cut occurred when Ko asks now if she has any hobbies, because they're trying to stall for time because the zombie's outside drunk. And so the first thing he thinks of is, do you have any hobbies?
Someone runs in with a sign, holding up a sign, letting the actors know that they need to fill time. And there's this long, awkward pause, and then a question about hobbies. And that's how Palm finds its way into the film.
Yep.
Yep. And this will happen several times from here on out. There will be a PA with a message board holding it up for the actors to stall or bring a zombie back in so that way they can keep rolling, because this thing is live stream. It's a oneer, just like the one we've witnessed. And we see this device several times to explain awkward moments in the movie where they're having to stop and read what they need to do.
And for me, I think this is where the film really started paying off to me. There had already, you'd gotten a little bit of like we talked about, the director's performance in the first scene. We now understand it. But that awkwardness of that scene the first time around, getting an explanation here, it was like the aha moment of, now I finally understand what's happening in this movie. And like getting to see, for the rest of it, really just being a series of, here's why that was weird, and here's why that other thing happened that didn't make sense when you saw it at first. Every mistake that we saw was part of the plan. And that makes it even more impressive that even the mistakes were choreographed.
This is where I started like going, oh, that's adorable. Oh, that, from here on out, my inner dialogue is just like, oh, that's so cute. Oh.
Yeah. If I were a fly on the wall in your apartment in Portland, I bet I would have heard a lot of this. Oh, right on.
Yeah. A little more excited. Oh, right on.
Right on.
Yeah. A lot of high voice. Right on.
Yeah, right on. I bet I would have heard that a few times.
And this was probably my first like real right on, because this is where we see that the very first zombie attack from the 37-minute One Cut, where the the zombified DP attacks the AD who's outside smoking. So he's hammered drunk, the actor playing the DP. So the director has to run out there and hold him up. So that one shot that I mentioned earlier that was very well done shot, how he just pops up behind him. So they explained it as the reason he pops up behind him is because the director was holding him up and he's so drunk that he raises him up into frame and forces him to attack by putting his arms to attack the actor playing the AD. And then the zombified DP spits the fluid into the AD's face. And immediately as the camera leaves them and runs away, he's like, "What is this liquid?" So it wasn't planned. He just threw up in his face.
He just threw up in his face. But this guy, he's like acting so well. And he's like, "What's that?" And he's like flipping out. Meanwhile, they're taking his shirt off, putting the prosthetic on him where his arm is supposed to be cut off. They're putting blood on the little prosthetic. And all the while, he's just standing there crying. It is so well done.
I loved it. And we get so many gems like this from here on out. In fact, the very next scene is that scene where the director has run inside. We see him for the first time with the camera where he has pushed the zombie into the room with the makeup artist and the actors. So now we're inside in that scene. And as we referenced earlier in the 37-minute film, the sound guy is like always trying to leave the room, the actor trying to leave the room.
Right.
And we find out that's because he had gotten the wrong water. And he had said earlier that a certain type of water gives him diarrhea and he accidentally drank it. So he's got to take a shit. So he's trying to get out of the room and Higurashi grabs him and, tells him to, stop trying to run and asks him what he's doing. But he's trying to get out that door. And so he finally gets out the door and runs outside. And this is where Higurashi looks at the camera and says, "Don't stop rolling." And then we cut to the control room because it wasn't in the script. And they ask, where's he looking? Because he looked at the camera.
We haven't talked a lot about this, but Higurashi, he's this, we had his quote about being fast, cheap, and average. This is just a job to him. He's not trying to accomplish a grand vision. He's getting paid and he wants to get it done. And I think his greatest fear in all this is they're going to stop, it's going to get cut. We're not going to be able to finish it. And that's his, I've got to let them know, do not stop. This is live. Do not stop. We're going no matter what.
And what you see in the control room is they are getting ready to put the place card up that says, "We'll be back with you in a moment." And so he knows. His instincts as a director, he knows it's off the grid. They are off in crazy town, and I guarantee you they're back in that control room. They're about to cut. And at that moment is when he looks at the camera and says that. It is a meaningful moment, right? And his instinct as a director is quite right that they were, in fact, getting ready to go off the air.
Yeah. He runs outside and asks the actor playing the sound guy what's wrong. And he says, "It's coming out." And he goes, "What's coming out?" And he goes, "The poop."
The poop. The poop.
And right after that, they also address that weird dialogue from the movie where Nao keeps asking everyone if they're okay. It's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you okay?" And then she says again to Chinatsu, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, you just asked me that."
Yeah, he already asked.
Yeah, you just asked me. He already asked.
So the reason, again, it's a PA has come in and has written for them that they're stalling to wait on the actor playing the sound guys. Got to come back in. So they're just continuing to stall once again. And since he's supposed to be in the scene, the sound guy, this is where they're just about to go to that "please stand by" card, the photo of the polar bear.
Yeah.
But Higurashi's daughter, Mao, she's in the control room and she stops them from leaving the broadcast. And she tells them, bring back the sound guy as a zombie. So that's when they let the actors know also, the daughter becomes the director at this point and starts telling him how to adjust the scenes based on the certain other pages in the script. We cut to outside and the sound guy, the actor playing the sound guy, is taking a shit in the weeds.
He's like, "I'm sorry, the restroom's too far away."
Exactly. So the makeup artist comes out with makeup and the director, Higurashi, says, "There's no time. Put the makeup on him here." And so she starts applying the zombie makeup to him while he's squatting in the bushes taking a shit.
Is it? And then he's kind of crying too.
I've had bad dreams like this. So we didn't mention earlier that the actual AC and the actual DP, not actors, but the people shooting the movie, she keeps pitching this idea to zoom in and out on the zombie. And he's like, yeah. So this is that scene where it happens. So the camera falls to the ground at one point, which we've talked about a couple of times. So the camera's laying on.
And he clearly is dealing with some back issues.
Yeah, I didn't know. That was my next question. I didn't understand what was wrong with him and why he couldn't get up.
In the like kind of second part of the movie, after we've seen the 37 minutes, before we get to the making of, there's several little moments with the director of photography and the AC where he's talking about like, oh, doing a one take handheld, this is going to kill me.
He keeps having to sit down and he sits down, he grabs his back a few times and she's like, are you sure? And he's like, not a chance.
She wants her chance to do it. This is one of my favorite payoffs. So she's been, she's pitching him during the rehearsals. You should do this with a Zoom. He hates the idea. She's looking for her chance. And he seems like kind of maybe a little washed up sort of director of photography that's holding on to his, like, I'm not going to let the new person have their day. So to me, one of the most satisfying payoffs.
So the scene that Noah's talking about. So when the DP goes to the ground with the camera, he hurts his back and he's laying there and the camera's on for so long.
Just laying on the ground. This is the moment that you thought was there for them to do a cut. The camera's just laying on the ground for, what, a minute?
Well, and there's some fighting happening in front of it, right? She's fighting with a zombie.
But they leave frame for after a bit and it's empty. And then it cuts to the execs in the room and they're like looking around like, is something supposed to happen here? And so then we go back and see that the DP's hurt his back. And so the AC, who's been pitching on letting her shoot some the whole movie, she picks up the camera and takes off running. And so she continues with the action. So that's why they explain that why the camera landed on the ground.
But the moment she gets the camera, she picks it up and she's running, immediately the zooms are there. And this was the question Lindsey and I had watching the beginning of it. Why are there they haven't been using zooms before this moment? Getting to see that it was because, new camera operator comes in, they're trying their thing.
She got her day.
I was happy for her.
And you do see a shift, right? You see a shift in style.
It's definitely the most pronounced, the most noticeable here because it's the first time it happens. But I think there continues to be moments where she zooms, not the in and out, but like, oh, I'm going to zoom in a little closer on this. She's definitely making use of the zoom, whereas the original director of photography never did. I haven't watched the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes that you keep referencing. So I haven't seen all of that, but I suppose both of the people we're talking about as the director of photography and the AC were actually actors. And I suppose there was a whole different person who was actually operating the camera the whole time. And so whoever that person was is having to, from here on in the movie, change their style of shooting.
Which makes you kind of realize as a movie as a whole, it's actually celebrating it. And it's almost like a love story to the crew, right? And to what it takes to do all of this stuff that's happening behind the scenes, these people that never really get their shining day.
And I think that's why it was important character-wise that the director of the film describes himself as average. Because I think if it had been about, look how amazing this awesome director who makes all the right choices all the right times, then it's not about the crew. And it's not. And I think you're right. It's so easy for people to point at a great film and give all the credit to a director. But this movie was like, no, this guy was just an average director. It was all these people behind the scenes that don't usually get celebrated, that stepped up in ways. And I think you're right. I think it really is a celebration of the struggle of filmmaking and the unsung jobs of what's happening behind the scenes.
They're celebrating it, but they're also doing it. I've never felt a more stone soup mentality in any endeavor like I have in low budget film, where the whole crew is coming up with ideas to save your ass. And it's magic in a bottle. And that's what this movie represents. Very next scene, the mom playing Now, which I never learned her name, so I will continue to call her Now. is she's starting to lose herself in the role, as we have been warned. She slaps the lead actor as he's arguing with her husband. And the daughter tells the people in the control room that she had to quit acting because she would get too involved in the role, and one time had almost broke an actor's arm, or did break an actor's arm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So she goes rogue, just like in the movie. So when she runs out, and they send the actors as zombies to stop her. So when she kicks the two zombies in that scene, they're actually trying to stop her
They're trying to stop her.
from going rogue, and she just kicks them to the ground. And that's the scene we get in the 37-minute movie. So they get to the roof. The lead actor playing Ko is trying to stop her. And there's that scene where I thought it was, I guess the reason I didn't think it was odd when I watched the film the first time is because I thought she was saying, "You're about to break my arm." I thought it was her, but it was him. So when they're fighting, he says, "You're about to break my arm." So that didn't have the greatest payoff for me that it would have had I known it was him doing it. I would have known immediately. So she's about to break another actor's arm as they struggle during this scene. So we get to that overly long shot of Chinatsu screaming on the rooftop. And we see the reason behind it is because they were fighting with the mom from not killing someone in real life. So the daughter and the husband are struggling with her, and the husband chokes her unconscious.
And apologizes.
And apologizes as she falls to the rooftop unconscious. So
Sorry, honey.
She's difficult to take down because knows this self-defense stuff, and
That's why you hear the boom. Boom.
So we get a few of those palms before she finally gets taken out by two of them. It takes two of them to take her down.
Yep. So those are the palms that you can hear if you listen back, which I will definitely go back and listen now to hear those.
Yeah, that may be my favorite payoff moment, this little sequence here.
Well,
I
another
mean,
great shot
so
from the executives watching it too. One guy turns to the woman who was behind all of this, and he goes, "Isn't this too long? Like this scene's going on way too long of her screaming."
She's not even watching. She's like looking at her phone.
So right before this, so this is when Chinatsu is cowering in that storage building, and then we see the zombie's legs walk in, and she's trying to stifle her scream. We see that it's a PA yet again with zombie makeup on their legs with cue cards telling her to pick up the hatchet that they've placed outside. So she leaves the storage building, and as she's walking outside, she finds the hatchet that they've placed for her. What does she say?
Lucky me.
Lucky me.
She says, an axe, lucky me.
So they get to the roof. The crane jib piece of shit that they're using for a crane falls off the roof and breaks. And that was going to be their final shot. So in the control room, the exec says that we'll just do something else. We'll scrap that shot. And Higurashi gets into it with the executive, and they're arguing about the shot. And the executive says, "It's a TV show. It's not art. Your average will do."
Wow.
So his motto has bit him in the ass at the moment. But his daughter says, "Wait, can we get everybody on set?" So we're back on the roof, and we're building to the final shot. And as Chinatsu and Ko are having that scene on the rooftop that we'd seen previously, we see all of the crew and the cast that are wrapped forming a human pyramid over by that final shot where the pentagram is. And they're struggling. They keep falling down. They climb back up, and they keep falling down.
Yeah, you see them. They're building the pyramid, right? While the director is shooting. This is the second sequence we see of Ko coming at Chinatsu and her saying, "Stop," and then he stops. And then gumming again, right? And so, but he's on the ground looking up at them filming, and he's seeing them fall from the pyramid. He's got to get the timing right so that the pyramid is built by the time she walks over there. So he's telling them, "Stop," the action. So she's saying, "Stop," and then he stops. And then he's telling them, go again, when he's ready for them, because they're successfully building this pyramid to become the crane.
Yeah, the scene I was forgetting it's when Ko and Chinashu are having that scene and then now pops up in between them. That,
Yeah.
which we talked about how odd that was, that she just pops up with the axe at her head and then falls back down again. This time we see that her husband has tackled her and pulled her out of the frame. And so that's why she's out of the frame. So she's still confused about what's going on because she just came to from being still unconscious.
And sees this human pyramid and doesn't know what that's about.
Exactly.
What's going on?
So then we get that last scene where Chinatsu and Hiragashi, where she hacks him to bits, stands up, walks over to the pentagram.
But that's another satisfying moment because now you see the other side of her going down on that axe and you're watching the person throw the blood every time she goes up and then comes back down and then she goes up and so you're watching the other side of it now. I love it.
That shot was really interesting for me. I've never made a horror film or anything with blood, and like seeing the mechanics of how that shot happened, and it was like a bucket of blood and a tube, and she's sucking it up and spitting it out through the tube was really fascinating. That's how that happened.
It is fascinating. And you're watching this person go around the entire set. Every time somebody's head is hacked off, every time something happens, you're watching her spit that blood out at them. And the sound is great. You can hear it splatter. You can hear it hit these actors' faces.
Oh, it's a blast. It's so sticky, though. Oh, my God, it's so sticky.
Oh, it's so sticky.
So she's standing in the middle of the pentagram. We get that shot where she looks up into the sky, and then we see the human pyramids. They start passing the camera up to the top, and Mao is now at the very top, and she's holding the camera above her head, trying to get that shot.
Sitting on her dad's shoulders.
Then they get the shot, and then we hear cut again, which was confusing the first time. So now we hear the cut of them saying cut to this. The broadcast is done. The executives are happy. They think it went off without a hitch.
That's the funniest part, right?
Exactly.
Them standing up and going, oh my God, I was so worried some bad stuff would happen, but it went off without a hitch. I was like, oh, shut up.
Mao walks over to her father, hands him a photo of them together when she was a kid, sitting on his shoulders with a camera, just like what just happened. Everyone smiles, like big smiles, like acid grind your teeth smiles. This is that little dial it back a little bit, guys. We get everybody's happy how it went, but and that's it. Everybody smiles. The end.
That was a moment for me. Okay, so I run a children's film festival. I'm a dad of 2 young girls. I cry at Disney movies. This was the moment of seeing. She hands her dad the photo of her as a little girl on his shoulders. This is what the whole movie was about for me, and what won me over and made me fall in love with it is not the horror, not the film within a film concept, but under every bit of that, the actual human family story of here's a dad who's been at this grind for his whole life, lost his joy in what he does. He's got a daughter who's aspiring to do something great with film. We didn't talk a lot about this in our conversation, but there's some tension in the family life, and I don't know, just having this moment of payoff and the connection back to, I think someone said this earlier, it's wholesome. Thinking back to when you were a little kid on your dad's shoulders with the little mini DV camera, and coming full circle to we just did this for real on a real production. And that daughter getting to step in and take over throughout that production in a way, not just get to meet an actor that she liked, but get to
she got to direct him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noah, I'm 1,000% with you. And I was so worried that I was going to die on this horse of saying that this father-daughter storyline works so well in here. And when that picture came up again, because that's where she got the idea, they showed the picture one other time in the movie. I didn't think much of it, right? And I didn't even think of it when they were building the pyramid. And I didn't even think of it when she was standing on his shoulders doing this. I did not expect this kind of zombie movie to make me care about a dad and his daughter finding a shared language through filmmaking. It works because the movie doesn't stop to underline it too hard. That's why it works. And I loved it. Noah cried. I cried at the end of this stupid
Right.
little movie. I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, it was on her shoulders. I mean, I was like, Bart is going to make fun of me, and he deserves to. Bart is going to make fun of me because I cried at the end of this stupid little movie. And I did, but I loved it.
I'm all about a movie that makes you cry, especially in an unexpected, like going in, I'm watching a horror movie and coming out with some tears. That's a good movie.
As a father of a daughter, I loved it. The smiles. And singles of everyone looking at the camera smiling, it pulled me out of the moment. And that's all this is, right? This is magic. And anytime you get pulled out of the moment, you lose the magic. And had those smiles been dialed down, I would have been with you guys. I would have been saying the same thing.
I get what you're saying. It was a little weird, but it didn't pull me out of it. This whole movie is just so crazy what's happening the whole time. And this kind of human pyramid ending turns into this like, this is the moment of victory for these people. If they can just hold it out, it's the teamwork of a film, right?
It's a metaphor for indie film.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. And so I'm still relishing in that moment, right? And I don't know, there was something geeky about the dad's smile that I was like, that's not altogether what wouldn't happen. I mean, especially everything that he's like been through, so it didn't pull me out of the moment, but I thought it was so sweet.
If you go back to us watching that original 37-minute movie and just like what you thought of that director in the first moment of the film, I hate this guy. And to see that cheesy smile on the other end of it, like I think it's a long arc to earn his right to have that goofy smile there. We've talked a lot about payoffs, and once you get into the heart of the film and it's payoff after payoff after payoff, it stops being, it's not that you're surprised anymore. It's just like, oh, that's cool. So that's what was going on there. This then became the actual last surprise, her pulling out that photo. I didn't see that coming.
This movie absolutely rewards you for sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
One Cut of the Dead. There it is. I am so pleasantly surprised by this movie, and I'm so happy that I now know it's not just a fine 37-minute oneer, and that it's, I'll say it again, a wholesome movie that makes you appreciate what goes into indie filmmaking and humans working together.
I loved this movie a lot. I was surprised by it. I was amazed by it. I was in awe of it. It feels like potentially a perfect version of itself.
That's why, we were talking about the low budget and I don't know, how well it performed for having no budget, no marketing, opening on one tiny screen and then going on to make a bunch of money. Like that doesn't happen if it's not a satisfying experience to watch the film.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's do the 3 questions.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so on a scale from kind of straight up horror to full on comedy, where does this one land for you? If we had a 0 to 100%, would it be, 20%, horror, 80% comedy? Where would it land for you?
I think I've got to cheat. My math is not going to add up, but I think this movie demands it, that I can't give one rating for the movie as a whole because it's like 2 different movies, at least 2 different movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the part 1, the one take thing is more on the horror side. I didn't laugh a lot during it, during that first section. It's pretty straight up horror, but like in the way, if you are laughing, it's like, oh, it's a little low budget and it's kind of, you might cringe at some of the low budgetness of it. But part 2, the rest of the film was like no horror. It's 100% comedy to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it was 2 different movies. One, there was a horror movie at the beginning, and then there was a comedic behind the scenes movie in part 2, and 2 different movies. So I think I've got to rate them separately.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. What do you think, Bart?
Well, like I said, when I thought it was a 37-minute horror film, it was 99% horror and maybe 95% horror when I thought that's all it was. And then when I watched the rest, if I look at it as a whole, it's weird that 99% doesn't become the 37-minute equivalent of the whole.
Right.
It becomes far less. So now I'd say it's now all of a sudden 95% comedy, which I know that math makes no sense whatsoever, but now I'd say 95% comedy, 5% horror for the entirety of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That seems to make sense. But yeah, Noah, you almost like it does the film a little bit of a disservice to just say, okay, there's, one go at this. But I think if it's how we are supposed to be taking the film in its entirety, then yeah, some of those just between the blood and the vomit, that's gonna lend at least 5%. But yeah, I mean it's almost all comedy. So yeah, I'd lean toward the 90 to 95%.
Once there's no zombies, no actual zombies in any version of it, then it loses all the horror.
Yeah, which is fine because that's not the purpose here. All right, so elevator pitch. So if you were trying to get this movie greenlit or just trying to convince a friend to watch it, what would your elevator pitch be? And this is tough. This is off the cuff, right? So I don't know if you've thought about this. I'm a preparer. Bart usually just wings it. I can see his wheels turning right now. So if you like, I can go first.
I've got a thought, but it's
okay. Perfect.
It's really kind of what I did with the first question. I'm like dodging these questions because this movie you can't give a simple answer to anything. And that's kind of my pitch it's impossible to pitch this film, especially from the angle of if you're trying to get it greenlit for someone to make this. I have no idea how you explain what this is going to be in a way that makes someone say, yeah, that's going to work. So the pitch is really just, trust me. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Just
hold my hand.
Give
and
it
jump.
a chance. I can't explain why or how it's going to work. Maybe it won't, but let's just give it a shot. Let's just trust me.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it. I'd just finished the first viewing. Jackson and his friend came home. Jackson was like, "Oh, what's the movie this week?" And I told him, and I said, "It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant." And I tried to explain it, and they both just went, "Wait, hold on. What? Huh?" I mean, it took me longer to maybe explain to them what the movie was about than the 37-minute one take.
I think trying to explain it to someone, just like we've done for this whole conversation, we just keep confusing ourselves with the complexities of it.
Yeah, you just got to watch it.
And so if you're trying to explain that to anyone, it's just, they're going to glaze over. But if you can just convince them to just give it a shot.
What about you, Bart? You want to go next?
Yeah, I would say what appears on paper to be a 37-minute one-take zombie comedy becomes an exploration into independent film, a look at human endurance, and a rekindled love between father and daughter.
Okay, so you did a great job of pitching it. So yeah, I guess it can be done.
Mine's actually in the same kind of vein. I always write mine out because I do put a lot of thought into this one, but mine was come for the 37-minute one-take zombie movie, stay for the drunk cast member, the method acting wife, the live broadcast panic, the father-daughter heart, and one crew trying desperately not to stop rolling.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I love this movie.
I do too. I love it. If you are dealing with anybody that has ever had anything to do with film and you say, we're about to watch a movie that has a 37-minute one take, I don't care what that film is about. If you're involved with film, you're going to watch it because that's awe-inspiring. Everybody knows doing that for 5 minutes is difficult. Doing it for 3 minutes is difficult. Doing it for 37 minutes is unheard of. So, I mean, if you're a film fan, that's kind of all you have to say with the elevator pitch is you want to watch a 37-minute one take in a film. Here it is. You're going to watch it.
It's true.
Okay, recommendation. I have a feeling I know what we're going to say here, but would you recommend this movie to everyone? To only a certain kind of fan? What is the right audience for One Cut of the Dead?
I think if you're like pure horror, I just watch horror films, that's all I want to see, you're going to be disappointed by the second half of the film, and this probably isn't for you. And then I think someone who's the opposite end of that spectrum is like, I hate horror. You've got to get through that 37 minutes to give it a chance, and you'll get to a part that you might end up enjoying. So, I mean, I think we've talked a lot. This is about filmmaking, and I think obviously it has an appeal beyond filmmakers and industry people, but the bullseye of who it's for is someone who both appreciates great depth and complexity and waiting for the payoff of something, but also seeing the just real look at how difficult things are behind the scenes to make something happen. Definitely not a movie for everyone. I think a lot of people would select themselves out of watching it and never get the chance to realize that they actually would have loved it if they gave it a shot.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is. What do you think, Bart?
I would recommend this to almost everyone. Just like Noah said, I know there were like straight horror fans, no fucking way, because most straight horror fans, they don't even like a little comedy in their horror anyway. So we know that those people are very dogmatic in what they watch. And also people that are squeamish, that don't like loads of blood, even though it's very campy blood, it's still loads of blood. And some people just have a visceral reaction to that type of stuff. So that very small percentage, I wouldn't. But anybody who anyone that I love, I would say, watch this fucking movie and put your phone down and enjoy the process because there's such a tremendous payoff in it. So yeah, anyone that I cared about, I would say watch this movie because I know what the journey is going to produce in the end.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about it being a Japanese film. You have to put your phone down. You cannot watch this and multitask in any way, shape, or form. You have to be dialed in the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would absolutely recommend it to almost every single person. But I would say I would recommend it, and then I would give them a warning, and I would say you have to stick with it. You have to. The right audience is somebody who kind of likes the clever structure, that horror comedy feel, filmmaking chaos, but this movie rewards patience. And so I wouldn't pitch it as sort of a scary zombie movie. I'd pitch it as a hilarious, kind of like weirdly moving, like magic trick almost about making movies with no money and very little margin of error. But yeah, I would recommend this movie to anybody.
There's just so much to love about it. And I enjoy the fact that I got to see it thinking it was the 37-minute wonder and that was it. And then I get to revisit it and find out there's more to it. I have a whole different perspective now going in and seeing that there's more to it. And it's charming.
Yes.
It's absolutely charming.
And I cried at the end.
Noah, that is One Cut of the Dead.
All right.
I love what this film says about young people and film. And the daughters love a film from an early age, even though her father was a director. She had a passion for film and grew up with this passion and wanted to become this director. And then they got to see her dream come true. And I love that. And I love that aspect of nurturing young filmmakers. Noah, when does this year's Children's Film Festival take place?
Yeah,
this year the festival is September 11th through 13th at the Pink Palace.
Is there a website or a social media page we can go and find out more and see what we can do to help?
Yes, likeyoufilmclub.org is the website, and on Instagram or Facebook, Like You Film Club is our name there too. And then the festival itself is the Like You Children's Film Festival. But likeyoufilmclub.org is going to have all the info and ways to sponsor or donate or buy a ticket or come to a movie.
Well, good luck with this year's festival, and I wish you great success in the years in the future with it. And thank you for doing this. I appreciate you taking your time. I know we went along, but I have to say, I'm grateful that we all had this opportunity to see this movie and talk about it, because it's one of those very hopeful, charming movies that just makes you, just puts you in a good mood, which is strange for a bloody zombie movie, but that's the facts, Jack.
And I was uncertain about which film to pick. Now on the other side, I'm like, this was the perfect film for for me to talk about, but I really wasn't sure that it was going to be.
Oh, I'm so glad you chose it. So glad.
Yeah. The French version, the final cut one, like now that I'm in on this, I'm like, let's have me back to talk about that one.
Yeah. Or the Vietnamese version, apparently.
Oh, there's another one. Okay.
I'm all in for him.
I'm really kind of curious to see that one.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Noah.
Lindsey.
That was so awesome. That was awesome in all of the ways. I'm so glad that Noah chose that film. I'm so glad that he was our guest to discuss it.
I'm on a post one cut of the dead high.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I was pleasantly surprised. I was glowing after I watched this. And like I say, just sitting there trying to describe to Jackson and his friend, like the film that I had just seen and how innovative it was. And you said it a little bit when, at the beginning, but I told them exactly this. I can safely say I have never seen a movie like this. Never. It makes you realize there are still good stories to be told. And I was just really happy after I watched it and very energized as an artist.
Shinichirō Ueda, the director, incredibly clever. He also edited it as well.
Mm-hmm. On like a Final Cut Pro on a Mac.
Yeah. I get so excited when I come across something that I thought was one thing and it's not. And you realize that there are clever, passionate ideas out there being churned out every year. And I can't wait to recommend this to people that I've never talked about this with before.
100%. And I hope that people will heed what you say and watch the movie and then listen to this podcast. But I hope then they watch the movie, listen to the podcast, watch the movie again, and then start recommending it. Because it's really a wonderful, wonderful film.
Yeah, I agree. All right, my friend, that was a fun one.
It was a really fun one. And I'm proud of you, Bart. You got through it. This is not, I was sitting there watching this movie going, I do not begrudge Bart his job on this podcast. After watching that, job well done, my friend.
Thank you. I had my concerns while I was watching it, thinking the same thing. It's like, how the hell is these are actors playing the actors that are in the, it gets very confusing.
The cameraman outside of, the cameraman inside of, and then the other cameraman. It's just, yeah.
I think for our next episode, I will give our guest 3 of the most basic horror comedies, Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3.
or Ghostbusters 1,
or
2.
Ghostbusters. Are we going to do this again?
Yeah, absolutely we are. This is the time of my life.
Yep, I'm having a blast.
Me too.
All right, enjoy your week, and I will talk to you very soon.
Sounds good, friend. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Lindsey.
Bye.
All music for this podcast is provided by MKE. To hear more of his music, visit his band's website at detectivemusic.com and Detective on Spotify.